Good morning. This is Janet Boyle from University of Indianapolis. Welcome to those of you that are on the webinar with us. We have about 30 of you that will be joining eventually. We're going to go ahead and start because we said we'd start at 8:30. Again, I'm Janet Boyle, Executive Director of CEL, and with me are four of my cellmates. I'm going to just mention who they are. Kylie Gerlach, our Director of Operations, is here. Pam Warner, Assistant Director of EWIN. Kate Kaufman, Director of EWIN. And our star of the show today, Sandy Hillman, Director of Early College. This is the first time we've done an Early College Collective webinar, so we're going to be curious at the end of this session if you like this format, if you have suggestions for us if we continue this format, or if you prefer the face-to-face meetings. What we're trying to figure out is how do we balance reaching out to you and getting ideas to help all of us improve our existing early college programs in an efficient way. So do we gain more from face-to-face meetings? Is it more convenient to do webinar? Thus, help us decide, do we do a combination of that or just one format over the other? So today our focus is going to be on the last four core principles of early college. If you were present at our Early College Collective meeting earlier this fall, we focused on the first four principles in the rubric. But this time we're going to talk about supports for student success, and we will have two speakers join us for that. We will also talk about the sixth principle, the collaboration and partnerships, and seventh will be leadership and staffing, and we'll have Trish Ladarzik from CEL join us for that portion. And then our eighth principle, data collection, analysis, and use. So our format today is pretty much that either Sandy or the speakers will be presenting, and we would like you to use the chat room. I hope you can find that function on here. If you have questions along the way, but then we will unmute everybody after each principle and either the speakers or Sandy has finished, and then we'll just have a discussion, because we do want this to be a discussion and not just our talking heads toward you. So do let us know if you're having any technical difficulties. We have muted you. We have taken you off video so you can all see the PowerPoint that we're going to be showing here. So I hope all that makes sense. With all that, I'd like to again welcome you all. I think we've got majority of you are here. So we're going to have Sandy ready to start then.
Yes, good morning. We are so excited to have all of you online. I think we have over 30 people registered for the webinar, so we're really excited about that. I know when we met last October, the sharing was very strong that day, and we were very encouraged. We knew as the network meeting concept grew, we knew that all of you had kind of a different needs, more advanced, more really down into the details of how do we continue to grow. So we like the collective idea and just hope that you get a lot out of this today, especially your questions answered. And I'm going to be posing some questions too. So we want this to be a discussion also for you guys just to share what you are doing in regard to the common or the core principles. So for our first core principle, it is support for student success. I don't know if any of you have your rubric there, but we know there are two components of that. One is the continuum of support that you do, and then parent outreach. And part of all of this too is supporting students, recognizing students, rewarding them when they get that SPC. So we have with us today from Penn High School, Danielle Black, and Danielle is the lead teacher for the Early College Academy at Penn High School, way up north. And they do tremendous things with communicating with parents and their senior year activities. And we thought that fit in pretty well here with the whole idea of parent communication and celebrating student success. So Danielle, we have your PowerPoint slide up and you are unmuted. Danielle, are you there? So, Danielle, can you hear me?
I am on.
Okay, yay.
Okay.
Do you have a group of students there with you?
I sure do. My Com 101 speech class is here. You guys want to say hi?
Good morning. Okay, Danielle, let's hear about the great things you're doing up there.
Okay, sounds good. So when, the objective is to share ideas about what we do here at Penn Early College to celebrate with our seniors. And really, we started out with something, this is our third group of seniors that we have right now. And we started out with something really small, but I think just a nice gesture. This is the first time we've done this with this third cohort. And that is, we looked at the end of our first semester data for the seniors, and we saw that we had about 64 students on track for their associate's degree. And so we bought them donuts. I have the video on there, although I'm not sure if what you see is linked, but I have our Twitter page and we posted, all we did is, let's see, classes meet until 11:23 second block, and we decided to do second block because so many of our seniors are late arrival or early release, so we thought we'd fit most of them, and it was for everybody in the senior cohort, not just those on track for their associates. And so we bought them donuts in the commons. They came together. We took a group picture, and we had Mr. Gavin, who is their, I guess, looping teacher, speak to the group, and he actually wowed us all and wrote a little poem for the kids. It was on Valentine's Day. It just so happened we planned at the right time, and so he wrote, how do we love you? Let us count the ways, rendition. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So that was the first thing that we did. Then, because there is so much going on with our seniors at the end of the year, and it's really overwhelming for parents, the second thing we do is we do a parent university at the very beginning of May. And we say the purpose of that, looks like the screen is blown up. I don't know if other people are seeing that better, but
we're trying.
I'm trying to get it smaller. You want me to hold a second?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Now, there it is.
Okay, thank you guys. So at that parent university, it's held in the evening at the beginning of May, and we just walk through everything with them. And the next 3 slides are all slides that we show at that parent university where we just lay out the dates. We make sure we also have a handout for the parents, and then we just talk through all those events. So continually get feedback from the parents through a Google form, and then we take the time for questions. And different teachers can attend that. It meets one of their duties. It's not required, but and we also try to have our college connection coach there, Jonathan Joyner. So that's kind of to get the month underway. Then we make sure that we always do a senior trip. Next slide. And we try to do whatever is like unique to that class. The first year we went to the dunes. The third year, this year, I think we're going to the dunes again. But the second year, we knew that we had a lot of Cubs fans. So we went to a Cubs game and to the Lincoln Park Zoo and just made a day there. And actually our numbers were, we took a charter bus and our numbers were a little low for that. But we also invited juniors that were on track for their associates. So yes, it's a senior trip, but that's how we kind of solved that problem of not having enough numbers. And the students did pay for that trip. I think it ended up, because it was a charter bus, ended up being maybe $35 or something like that. It was affordable, but you know, it cost a little bit of money. All right, so there's that. Then we moved on to, we have the signing day, and the next 4 slides relate to that. We had Miss Nicolini, our senior English teacher, who did a great job putting all the kids on the slide. And so this was scrolling throughout the day. We also used the same thing for our senior banquet, which I'll talk about next. And we really just celebrate where they're at. You can notice we have somebody going to Purdue. We have someone that's not going on to college, Ben Boyer, that was the previous one. And then we also have, you know, Emily and biology at IUPUI. And that was just a really, really special time. Like I said, it was the first time we did it. The slide you're on right now is the senior banquet, if you want to go back there. Looks like the one I shared with you was missing the slide that I'm looking at right now, but it has a little video from ABC News that didn't just highlight the senior signing day, but early college in general, but it did have some video from there. And so that was just a really fun celebration. And we've actually heard, while it was supposed to be a celebration for the seniors, all the other early college kids are invited to that. And so we heard from several people that had even thought about getting out of early college after their freshman year because they hadn't bought in yet. And attending that event made them see the camaraderie of the students. We had student speakers. And I think that that was a really great selling point that we're doing again next year. Next, we have 2 more, is the senior banquet. We always hold that on a Sunday night. It's filled with awards, senior superlatives that they pick, as well as awards that we as the teachers pick, things like math and STEM and humanities and different things like that, as well as fun awards like the Great Friend Award or even an attendance award. In the first year, we had somebody that had amazing attendance. So, and the student that speaks is often like, they approach us. We don't approach them. And that's kind of the same way with the signing day. We do approach them, but they say yes or no. And we try to get a wide variety of students so that we can kind of show that off, that many different people graduate from early college. Okay, next we have the commencement. There's 2 of them, the Ivy Tech one, which is low attended. That's the bottom right corner, I think, on the next slide, but it's still really fun. And we make sure that at least 1 teacher goes to that. You know, we have so many events in May, and so we don't want to wear our teachers out either, but usually it's the looping teacher that's kind of formed the closest bond with the kids. And so again, they attend that event, and any students that have a 30 block or above, the SDGEC, are allowed to attend that. And usually it's probably around 20 or 25 that do. Upper right hand is our commencement at Penn. One thing that Penn does is, as you can see bottom left, they sit with, teachers are allowed to sit with students. Top left, you can see, even if we're not sitting with students, although Ms. Gregory and I both are, we are attending and taking pictures afterwards and just really being present and celebrating. And also top right, before the ceremony, we always make sure to call early college students aside and we take a group, like one final group picture there. So again, just a celebration. Next is the senior strut. And that's when we attend elementary schools and they walk through and they give us awards, or not awards, excuse me, they're cheering for us as the music is playing. Early college actually started this at our high school, and last year, well, 2 years ago was the first time. It was such a success. Last year, all of high school seniors were encouraged to do this, not just the early college kids. So it was really fun, and the elementary school kids got into it and were super excited. So again, I think we'll be doing that in the future. Sometimes we just try things out, like the donut thing, and who knows if it'll become an annual event, but it's just special in the moment. And so, but all these other events that we've tried have worked so well that we try to keep them going in the future. So I guess finally, I think I'm way over my 7 minutes, but we really try to celebrate through our early college boosters page, as well as we have a Twitter. Again, if you want to look up that poem that Mr. Gavin, it's linked on the first slide, wrote for the seniors on Donut Day. But it's also the boosters page, as you can see, this post on the next slide, I think, you know what, I might put that in. Oh, yep, looks like it's there. That's not posted from us. You know, we as teachers are posting, but so are the parents, and obviously that means someone has to keep an eye on things. Sometimes that backfires on you when parents aren't appropriate, but for the most part, it's a great chance for parents to celebrate, and we've really seen increased communication in general with the launch of our Facebook page specifically, much more than the Twitter. So those are our events for our seniors to celebrate.
Danielle, can you tell us who runs your Facebook page, excuse me, and how do you pay for your senior trips?
Okay, so our senior trip is largely paid for by the students themselves, and that's why, you know, that's why we expanded. For instance, usually we get a regular bus, which is a lot less money, and we'll probably go back to that this year for the dunes, but for the Cubs, we wanted to make it extra special. So then we just put it out to the kids. We warned them well in advance so that, like, I think we got that information out to them before Christmas. So for families that are struggling, you know, the kids could ask for it for a Christmas present, or, you know, many of them have jobs as seniors, but yeah, that is largely funded. I think Mr. Gensick did get a grant so that we could get snacks for the kids. And so I think that helped that as well. So we could make it just a little bit extra special, bringing donuts in the morning and things like that. But it is largely funded by the students. The one other thing that we do and we always tell students, you know, if they can't afford it, and some kids take us up on it, then just come see us privately and we'll work something out. And the way we, quote, work something out is in their freshman year, we have Martin's Supermarket. They sell coupon books. And so in their freshman year, students are asked to sell 10 coupon books. And that's the best fundraiser ever because they're only $5 per people. So a lot of, you know, there's not a problem getting those sold. And for those that $5 cost, $4 of the dollars go back to the program. So we tend to be running a surplus just a little bit because we have no budget at Penn for early college, but we tend to run a surplus off that fundraiser that helps us supplement those students that are, you know, having hardships.
Great. Do you have time to respond to the one question about the Facebook page? Because I know that you've got to go.
No, it's fine. My kids are evaluating me on my public speaking skills. So I feel like they are benefiting from this as well. I do not see that question that you're talking about. I'm sorry.
No, if you could just respond to how you keep your Facebook page up to date.
Yep, absolutely. So I am an administrator. We put 2 other responsible teachers as administrators, and honestly, that number isn't special. If another leader, you know, teacher said, hey, I am good at this, or I have the time to do this, other teachers could be administrators as well. Although even those that aren't teachers are sometimes, like, we did make it obviously in the privacy or the settings that parents, which would also include teachers then, are able to post. And so that seems to be, I mean, it's not something we're, you know, updating all the time, but we have, so that's about 3 pairs of eyes on it specifically, maybe 4. I think Beth Zachary, our assistant, you know, our principal for early college, also is overseeing that. Although I don't think she posts on it. She just kind of keeps an eye. We had an issue last year where there was a kind of unhappy parent. It ended up and wasn't even something related to early college, just the school. But, you know, having teachers have their eyes on that so that, you know, the teacher could email me and say, or text me actually and say, hey, Danielle, keep an eye on what's happening on Facebook. You know, you might want to get involved, or, you know, shut her down, or, you know, things like that. So I think having more than one person with as busy teachers is probably key to maintaining that. Same with Twitter.
Sure. And what is your time frame? Do you have time for any more questions?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to unmute everyone. And so if you could identify who you are and ask your question, that would be great. Any questions for Danielle?
I think my kids might have to go back to work.
Okay. Okay, we muted everybody again. So Danielle, I know you have 400 some little elementary kids coming your way today, and I also know you're in charge of the spring musical, and we really appreciate your taking the time today to be with us and share with us about your program. So if folks have any follow-up questions, we'll make sure that your email is available, and they can maybe wait until next week to ask that question.
Feel free to email me, but yes, please show grace that I probably won't get back to you until next week. But it was meeting with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Danielle.
Great job.
Have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Okay, so hopefully that piqued some thoughts in your brain about what you could do to expand your support for students their senior year, to keep them focused and then to celebrate their great accomplishments at the end. So another idea that we would like to share is about things you can do in the summertime for student supports. And some of you already do things, and some of you obviously do things throughout the year, but we'd like to ask Jessica Mann, who is Dean of Students at Mishawaka High School Early College, to just talk with us a little bit about their summer bridge program, what you do each summer. And Jessica, are you there? We think we have you logged in, but we can't hear you. Jessica, is that you? Okay, we will continue on without Jessica. And Jessica, if you are here, if you can just speak up and we will let you share with us your program. They were endorsed, Mishawaka High School Early College was endorsed last year, and I know they have a very extensive summer bridge program where they do things. Many of our schools bring students together prior to their freshman year, but as time goes by and they need more academic support, prior to the freshman year sometimes can be more of a team building, getting them oriented to the school, but real academic needs are addressed, need to be addressed, can be addressed through summer bridge programs throughout the year. So at this time, maybe I'll open it up to any other discussion questions or ideas, something that you guys are trying that's new or something that you've been doing for a while in the area of student support. So this is the discussion time of our webinar. So please, you are unmuted now, and we'd like for you to speak up and contribute. Do you have anyone out there?
Hello, Sandy.
Yes.
This is Regina from Elkhart Central High School.
Hi, Regina.
Hi. Well, one of the things that we've been discussing, we haven't really totally come up with it yet, but we are seriously discussing having a program whereby students can come in and work on the Ed Ready Ivy Prep program through Ivy Tech. So we're trying to make it so that they come in to work with that program over the summertime and to help them more successful with passing the acupuncture.
And would that be staffed by Ivy Tech or by you guys or by who?
So we were going to actually pay with some of our grant money either a teacher or counselor to come in to run that program over the same time that we would run our regular summer program. That's what the thought is right now.
Okay. So that should fit well with your summer school programming. So we'll be anxious to see how that goes. Regina, thank you for sharing that.
We have muted everyone again, but if you'd like to ask a question, you can now unmute yourself. That'll help with the feedback.
So do we have any other suggestions, things you're trying in the area of student support? Okay, we're hearing none. So, and let me ask one more time, Jessica Mann, are you logged in now? Can you share with us? Okay, alrighty. Well, we are going to move on then to Principle 6, and that is collaboration and partnerships. And for those of you who attended the parent booster meeting, or excuse me, the networking meeting that we just had last week, we heard some great ideas from Center Grove High School about their parent booster groups and the partnerships that they have with them. So I think we have Tracy McMahon. Are you with us?
Hi, Sandy, I am.
Hey, great. Could you maybe just in a nutshell summarize some of the highlights of things that you do with your parent boosters, your parent advisory, that kind of thing?
Sure. We typically try to meet at least twice a semester, and during those times we work to plan parent involvement meetings. We discuss different needs that they feel our parents might have or need, whether that is a FAFSA night, or we've had a guest speaker from the SAT come in before and explain to parents the testing process. They also then discuss different ways that we can fundraise and how they can support our students and teachers. And in general, we just kind of talk and have the opportunity to learn on my end, what are they seeing on the outside? What needs do they have? How can I support them? And then in return, they do the same for me, asking, you know, what type of money do you think you might need? Are there kids we might need to scholarship for different events? Like for Xmester, we often scholarship students, so they'll discuss with me how much money we have in the account and what that might look like and what can we offer for students and teachers.
Can you tell us about Xmester?
Sure. Xmester is a week-long summer experience at Vincennes University campus. Students have the opportunity to go there for the week, live on campus, and earn anywhere between 2 or 3 credits in specialized areas. So we had a large group meeting with all of our juniors just a few weeks ago, where Kevin Maurer, our Dean of Instruction, came in and did a presentation on next semester for the students. And then we sent home information allowing the students to sign up to see if they were interested. From that point, as we get our applications, Angela Chaplin, our guidance director, has the opportunity to look to see, are there certain students who really need that quick boost of a 2 to 3 credit hour opportunity during the summer in order to earn their associate's degree or their core 30. And then Kevin is going to reach back out to those parents to discuss again the opportunity. And if we do have students who need some financial assistance, at that point we may be able to offer partial or full scholarships to those students. We really try to do that for our free and reduced students. And then as we share that information with them, I believe it is in June, I can't remember the exact dates, but students again will have the opportunity to go live on campus, experience a little bit of college life in, I guess, a controlled setting. They still have study hours that they have to do during those few days, but then there's also lots of opportunity for just fun and enrichment game type activities.
Okay, great. And then just finally, if you could share some of the financial support that you get from the parent boosters.
Sure, we typically run 2 fundraisers a year. The one fundraiser we start at the beginning of the year, but sales can continue throughout, and that is iPad accessories. So we go to both middle schools during the registration process and have the opportunity for parents or students to buy pop sockets, stylus, earbuds, earbud holders, cinch sacks, just some different items like that. And then they also come to our registration here at the high school. And what's been successful for us in having signups for that is we'll do a sign up genius and then allow any parent in our organization to sign up for an hour or 2 here and there. And that has kind of relieved the load off of the boosters instead of having them have to sit there for the entire day. So that's one that we do. The other one we do is in relation with our craft fair that our football team hosts. We have a popcorn booth that we set up where we sell popcorn as the day goes on. And we have parents and students who do the same thing. We also offer National Honor Society hours for students who would want to volunteer to do that. And I do the Sign Up Genius again. And then most recently, we've been trying to do a spirit wear sale where we would get a percentage of the spirit wear that was successfully sold. And we reached out to our current group, but then once we had our new applicants, our 8th graders to be freshmen, we also sent a link out to them. So that's a newer one that we're trying to kind of bolster and get some more. And then all that money goes into our booster account. And then typically what they would do is write a check to the school, which is our school account. And then I'm able to use that for either teacher resources, student supplies, or to scholarship those students like we talked about earlier.
Or your ice cream social.
Oh, yeah. We do use some of that money for our seniors. We do a senior ice cream social, and we take the money that we have for the boosters and buy ice cream and brownies. And we go around with water to each of the homeroom classes for our seniors. We kind of do a senior celebration in that manner, and I have volunteers come in to do that as well.
Okay, sounds like a well-oiled machine you have going there. So let's take some questions from the group. Anyone have any questions about parent boosters? Any of Tracy's comments? Okay, what are some of the rest of you doing in the area of getting parents involved? Maybe not in a booster club per se, but outreach to parents. Anyone have any ideas to share or things you're thinking about? This group is sort of quiet today. So, and feel free to jump in whenever you do have a question. So the other thing in terms of collaboration and partnerships is advisory groups that any of you might have with business and industry, any of you who are focusing on CTE programs. We know that the advisory groups are really very important. Many times you can bring the educators together and the business and industry folks together, but you really have to have some activities to help them be able to speak the same language. And as in any volunteer group, you really need to have some strong takeaways at each meeting, so the people who are participating, taking time away from their businesses, really believe that they're having input and important part of that. So any group discussion items on advisory groups? Anything that you have? Do we have any career and technical centers out there? Anything you have learned about advisory groups? Patrick, Brenda, Elkhart, anyone there have anything to share? Okay, all right. So I know many times, especially in the rural communities, that getting advisory groups, getting those partnerships set up are a challenge. Some of you who are in our rural early college network, hopefully we will be doing a lot of work with that area to help you get involved in that. Yeah.
This is Janet, and I just remembered an exciting idea I saw presented at a National Rural Conference last year, but it would be good for no matter what school you are. This was a person that was presenting was from Oregon, and she was the, I believe, college career readiness person for the district. Very tiny district, remote, kind of on the coast and kind of a little bit of the mountains too. So kids were and families were distributed all over the district, which was pretty large in terms of square miles. But what they realized is they did not have good communication with their parents. And they sent out the emails, they sent out the different alerts and things that they use. They used newsletters, but they still could not get parents to come to events or even know about upcoming things that were important in their students' lives. So this lady thought, well, I'm going to create a parent cadre. And what she did was she invited 10 parents. I'm sorry. Okay, invited 10 parents, and they represented different grade levels in the high school, and they tended to be active anyway. And the parents were invited to, they were tended to be mothers instead of mothers and fathers, though later she did have some fathers join this. And she asked them first for advice. How do we get parents involved? What would work? And they said, well, you need us to call other parents. And so they formed phone trees, and each of these, I think with the 10, each of them had 10 parents to call. And then they decided, well, we can each handle 20. And so they called all 20 parents, but they always had a purpose. And so they might be small things like this meeting's coming up, or it's time for FAFSA. Do you know what FAFSA is? Well, there's a neat program at the school about this. And so then the parents said, well, we don't know enough about what you need us to communicate, what you need us to know about. And so they brainstormed, what do 9th grade parents need? What do 10th grade parents need? What on through seniors. And they said, well, if you train us in some of these things, we'll turn around and train other parents. So it was this wonderful model of kind of ripples out into the community. And this lady ended up creating a binder of information for this, for her training manual, and all these parents had it. And then they came up with an idea. They had a kind of a long drive to their school, the driveway to the school. And they said, we don't use that space very well. So let's put, whenever something's coming up, like the Monday before something's happening, later in the week, let's put signs along there like juniors, FAFSA, parent night is, and it was kind of like those old-fashioned, long ago signs that were on the highway that for Burma Vermicream or whatever the shaving cream, Vermishave was, where there would be 10 little signs in a row, but each one would have a very short message, like just 3 words. And so they did that, and they saw tremendous improvement in terms of parents coming. But the biggest thing was having these 10 core people just kept reaching out. And they eventually said, we think you need to form a group of 15 to 20 of us, and we can nominate people who are active and will help us. And so, okay, so they just kept growing. Then they said, well, you need to keep us alive. You know, my kids are going to graduate. I'm a parent of seniors, so we need to figure out who's coming up in 8th grade that would be good. So this group just kept going and going, and she was very open to all their suggestions. They turned around parent involvement. She said, we have at least 60 to 90% involvement now by grade level, depending on what the event is. And that was simply by reaching out to some already active parents who like to be part of helping their kids as well as the school. So hope that helps as an idea. And if any of you want to shoot me an email or ask a question right now, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Some of us who've attended the early college, College for All conference down in the south tip of Texas have just been amazed at how communities that are high poverty have been really able to engage their parents. And I think Janet just gave a good list of ways that we could do that. So, so we have a comment question from, oh, I see. Hang on just a second. We have a person here, Patrick Biggerstaff, and he's not in a situation where he can actually speak out loud, but he would suggest that it's important that educators are trained on how to run an advisory committee. And they have an advisory committee fill out packets that guide discussion towards specific areas. In other words, equipment needs, employability skills, development. It's also important that advisory committee members are diverse. In addition to students and parents, they should represent experts in each area of content that is included in the, if you're in a CTE school, in that pathway. For example, when they're offering dual credit in sterile compounding and medical law, then they should have representatives from both of those areas. And then he also suggests to include people who represent areas in which you hope to grow, such as non-trade participation. So, and I think that can be translated out into just the general population too. So Patrick, those are some great comments that will help us. And a diverse group, I think, is very important, and it just also helps you get the word out. The more diversity you have on your advisory groups, you know, those people do talk to other people outside of their workplace, and so it's a great way to publicize your programs as well as get that really important feedback. And then I want to emphasize too the importance of training in your advisory committees. And I might ask some of our EWIN folks to share a little bit about how to go about training advisory groups. So.
Hi, this is Kate Kaufman. I'm the director of EWIN. We currently work with several of the early college programs around the state, helping with their advisory groups. We can help, one, identify possible employers that might be great additions to your group, set up training and process so that you're working with them consistently across the different programs and engaging them effectively so it's a good use of their time. Pam currently is working with IPS with several of their different advisory groups and helping form a structure, agendas, and also making sure that everything is in process in case they're audited by Perkins. So a lot of different options there if you need assistance here with the team itself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kate. Okay, any other discussion from the group on Principle 6, collaboration and partnerships before we move on? Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Principle 7, which is leadership and staffing. And we all know that the staffing part of early college can be quite a challenge, and that we do have 2022 looming ahead. That really means we have 2 more school years, the 2021 year and 21-22 year, where we can still have our staff reach that credential they need, the number of hours they need to become credentialed. So we have various ways. Let's talk about the staffing part of that, of Principle 7 first. We are hearing more and more of funding sources that are available, but here at UND, we have our STEM Teach program and through CEL, and we've had that for several years, and it continues to grow and change a little bit depending on the grant and how the grant is written. So we have our director of STEM Teach, our director of strategic initiatives, Trish Ladarczyk, with us today. And Trish is going to talk just a little bit about STEM Teach.
Good morning, everyone. This is Trish Ladarczyk. As Sandy said, thank you. I'm sorry, I do have a bit of a cold, so I sound a little raspy. I apologize. But I'm the director of STEM Teach for CEL, and we are actually a partnership with ICI, the Independent Colleges of Indiana, and we were awarded actually a 4th round of funding from the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. It's money that it comes from the state of Indiana. It was appropriated by the Indiana General Assembly back in 2015. So this is our 4th round of funding. We think we've gotten pretty good at running STEM Teach. This time STEM Teach looks a little bit different, but I think what's really important for all of you to know is that our primary focus is to increase the number of dual credit teachers in Indiana in STEM fields. So what that looks like is that STEM Teach reaches out to higher ed institutions and asks them to propose sequences in various STEM fields of graduate credits for dual credit teachers. And so we have proposals from independent and public higher education institutions in Indiana, and we review those and we pick the course sequences that match the teachers in our system. So that includes graduate courses in content areas such as biology, chemistry, math, physics. We do have a new environmental science sequence this time. We have psychology. We've added agricultural science and looking for some teachers in that area as well. And we have computer science and also IT. So all these classes, the tuition, the books, the materials, those are all at no cost to Indiana schools and teachers. So it's free. But I think what's really important for teachers to understand is that there is an application process, but it's really quite small or short. So they would go to our website. If we can click on our website. And there's of course there's a home page, but then there's also some areas of the website that are dedicated solely to the teachers. So they can read a little bit about STEM Teach, they can learn how to apply, and they can learn how to register. So in order to apply, a teacher does have to be an in-service K-12 teacher in Indiana. And for the dual credit teachers, the application includes just a letter of acknowledgement from the principal saying that yes, this teacher is currently a dual credit teacher, or that they're slated to be a dual credit teacher in the future. And then they just provide, the school district where they work, the school, the content areas that they're seeking dual credit credentialing in. And we check their license, we make sure that they are an in-service teacher in Indiana, and then we create what we call a student account in our portal for them, and then they can register for classes after that. I think one thing that sets us apart a little bit from some of the other programs that provide dual credit credentialing for teachers in Indiana is that teachers do not already have to have a master's degree in order to take the content courses through STEM Teach. So if they are currently working on a master's degree or they're getting ready to start a master's degree, they may also participate in STEM Teach. So I think, are we having a little trouble getting the website up?
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
see it here on our screen, but
Okay,
I'm not
great.
sure the
Sorry.
participants do.
Yeah, I don't see it. So I'm not sure, but there it is.
All right.
Great. So if they were to go to the website stemteachindiana.org, then click on the teachers section. Sorry, you were already there. And then scroll down a little bit. There are some buttons on the right, and you'll notice that there is a blue button that's apply here. So you don't need to click on that, but that's where they would actually click in order to get the directions to apply. So right now, we run various application periods. We don't generally run an application period during an active registration window because they are two separate actions and we do have to verify licenses. But we're accepting applications through March 22nd. The application takes about 10 minutes to fill out. And then we'll shut down applications, verify, all the teachers, and then we would start registration for all the summer 1 classes from March 25th to April 4th. I think if you go ahead and click on offerings, up in the top menu bar, either one, yeah. If you click on offerings, we are currently in the process of uploading all of the summer offerings for teachers. And so there will be a little box in there that is like the sneak peek for summer 1 classes. And so teachers can browse through and look at all the graduate classes for dual credit teachers, of course, that they could register in for. And then we also have some undergrad classes and some workshops I'll talk about a little bit later. And there's, various other sort of menu bars there on the right. If they're a dual credit teacher, they could filter by those, high school teacher, middle school teacher, etc. So I think that's it. I mean, basically for the website, it's very, user friendly. I think everything's either at the top or along the right-hand side for teachers to learn a little bit more. But certainly welcome to reach out to me if you have more questions, and my email address and my phone number should be on the bottom of the home page, and I'm sure Sandy can send it out to you all later. But I will say that, it's not just for dual credit teachers. I know that's your primary purpose, but we also have regional workshops from the higher ed institutions that are offering classes and workshops through us. Those will be listed on the website as well. And then periodically we have scholarships to STEM conferences in Indiana. We were recently at Hasty and at the Purdue Indiana STEM conference, and we often have STEM giveaways at our exhibit tables and things like that. So I think that's it. I won't keep talking on and on, but Kylie, thank you for bringing up, when you do go to our website, the best way to find out more is really to subscribe for updates. If you go ahead and fill that out, you'll get on our email listserv. And yeah, just feel free to reach out to me with questions. Happy to help.
What questions do we have for Trish? Okay.
Can I add, sorry, Sandy, can I add one
Sure.
thing I just forgot? As I said, tuition and books are covered, but the grad classes are essentially, almost all of them, with just a few small exceptions, are in an online format. So while they're from various institutions across the state of Indiana, they're accessible for teachers, whether they're in the the northern region of the state or the southern region of the state or central Indiana.
Okay. I do know, as I learned more about STEM Teach, one thing I had to get into my head was, I would think, have you signed up for STEM Teach? And as Trish said, it really is a two-step process. So you apply, and then that doesn't mean you've signed up for a class. You apply. And then when the registration period opens up, that's when you get registered for the class. And I know sometimes people get those two steps confused. So just make sure that do the application. And we do have quite a window. It's open till, when is it? The 22nd of March. So
Yeah, and all that information is also on the website as well. And like I said, if you sign up for updates, we will send you emails and let you know when things are opening and closing. But I think what's important to know is that applications are open now through the 22nd. So.
Right, and I do have one question, Trish, for clarification. If a teacher is wanting to, maybe take advantage of the free registration for Hasty or some of the other STEM conferences, do they go through an application process like they do to register for a class, or how do they do that?
Yeah, so once they've applied and, we've created their account within STEM Teach, meaning that we've just verified their license, then they can register for anything that is available through STEM Teach. So they can register for, grad classes, workshops, conferences, undergrad classes. It opens the door to everything with one application.
Yes. So some of you that work with professional development and teachers in your building, have them apply for STEM Teach, because even if they aren't interested in the grad classes, have them apply for workshops. So, okay, any questions? We're also monitoring the chat room, so if you have a question and you don't want to speak up and you want to type it in there, that's good too. So, okay, well, thank you, Trish. We appreciate your being with us today, and just appreciate your efforts and everything that's going on with STEM Teach, because there's a lot. So as many of you guys know, there are other ways to get free grad credit. The Department of Ed has given a grant through Indiana University, and you can contact them for that. And then through the ACP program at IU, they refer to that sometimes as getting in the ACP pipeline. And I know many of you are involved in that also. We are working with legislative efforts to help get funding for the credentialing for teachers. Janet, do you want to add anything in that area?
The Dual Credit Advisory Council is something that has been set up by the legislature, and it met this past fall 3 times, and I serve on that. And its biggest charge is to look at teacher credentialing. And the group was supposed to convene again this spring, and I think it still will. And it's partially to prepare for the next legislative session, which is a budget session. So there will be big discussion on what do we do with that, and not just in terms of what we're already doing with STEM Teach and, for instance, what IU is doing in terms of offering classes, but are there other things we need to think of, like incentives for teachers built into contracts? It could also end up being some collaboration among some districts for some distance learning for teachers. So those are some of the ideas that are on the table, but nobody has grabbed them and fleshed them out and put a dollar sign on those. Part of the effort for the Dual Credit Advisory Council is the Commission for Higher Ed tries to collect information, mostly from Ivy Tech and Vincennes University, about the numbers of teachers out there who still need credentialing. And they have a great chart that's updated every year that shows by subject area what teachers are out there and whether they have a master's degree or not, and then how many more credits they need to be credentialed. That's a great chart, but the one thing missing and nobody knows how to capture is how many more teachers need to be credentialed that are coming up through the ranks. So for instance, when you have folks retire or leave, you've got to have somebody to replace them as a teacher for that. The other thing is that you don't know, if you don't have funding to go recruit teachers for this, it's kind of difficult if there's not incentives. And we have found or watched that many of the younger teachers don't really want to give up time to do this. And or they're busy with young families, or they coach, or they are extracurricular sponsors. So time is a big factor for them. And I'm familiar with one district that is actually giving teachers an extra prep period to give them time to do their homework toward their graduate class. So it might be some other types of incentives beyond financial that end up being offered for that. So we'll keep you posted on that. The second thing to just let you know that we're kind of investigating is something that was announced about a week and a half ago by Purdue, and that's called the Fast Start program. And that's where they're proposing to use the CLEP exam, which has traditionally been used for military folks or adults, to test out of, based on their experience, various subject areas. And so Purdue is having an initiative. There's not much detail about it yet, but we're trying to pull information together for you on this offering. It is just right now for Purdue incoming students, but the idea is if a student took 5 CLEP exams and passed at a certain cut score, they could, that would be a semester of credit. And if they did 10 exams, it'd be a full year of credit. And I think 10 is the max that Purdue will take. We don't know those cut scores yet. We don't know how this all works. The exams cost $89 each, and Purdue has received a $1 million donation to help fund those exams, but we're not clear on who gets to sign up for those, etc. So what we're trying to do is pull some of that information and have a presentation at our April 15th Early College Network meeting about that, so you can be informed. I don't know if it's a good thing. It could be a nice alternative. And I think as we look at putting together in our schools either technical certificates or this STGEC for kids, that we have to look at options. And part of those options includes possibly CLEP, possibly AP classes, but again, the bulk will have to come from dual credit, especially for that statewide transfer gen ed core. But if you don't have a teacher of U.S. history, maybe it's going to turn out that CLEP or AP is the way to get that credit and build that out for the kids. So that's just something want to make you aware of, and that we're trying to dig into and get you more details on. Questions for me?
The leadership team part of this principle, I believe, I just want to connect to what Janet just said. We were in a district in the northern part of the state this last week, and they are giving $1,500, a $1,500 stipend per course, per dual credit course, per semester that a teacher teaches. So you're talking a pretty significant salary bump there. But what's coming right on the tail of all of that is that school district has some pretty amazing incentives. And so we are hearing stories of poaching, as in teachers leaving one district to go to another district because of those incentives. So it's really important that your leadership team is working with your central office, is working through central office with teacher unions to look at that, because that is something that I think will continue to grow. And then likewise, if that should happen to you, if your star dual credit teacher gets stolen by the neighboring district, who do you have lined up in the wings. And so we often hear schools say, yeah, I'm in good shape. I've got, I'm credentialed. I've got all my courses covered. But you really need to be thinking about what if that person would leave, and who, you know, what can we do to take advantage of some of the STEM Teach opportunities and other opportunities out there to get people those hours. So do we have a question, comment? Just also would like to throw out some things on leadership teams. That is kind of a requirement, you know, for a highly effective early colleges, that you have a leadership team that meets regularly. And we also know that meetings, who needs another meeting? But these are really, really important times for you and your teachers, perhaps your counselor, your higher ed rep, pardon me, to really sit down and lay out the plans. And it works best if you do have an agenda and if you have someone who's taking notes, so when you meet again, you can revisit what the tasks were that needed to be completed. So does anyone have anything they would like to share about leadership teams? Who sets on it, what their functions are, anything that's working, what you need help with? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, and then we're almost to our last principle, which is always the challenging one, and that is data collection, analysis, and use. So the questions posed there are, what kind of data are you collecting? What methods are you using to do that? What we hear from many people is, as far as following up with their grads, is they're using social media quite a bit. But any way you can formalize, you know, someone on your leadership team or a teacher who uses social media a lot, to really kind of keep track of where the students are. If you can gather up email contact, that's wonderful. Even numbers for a text message is also a good way to go. We are working with the Commission of Higher Education to get feedback for endorsed schools about how many of their students are persisting from year to year and make it to graduation. And that's a little slower process than what we'd anticipated, but we are working with them on that. Hopefully we'll have some information by the end of this school year for you guys. So I want to throw out, or just let me pause there. Does anyone have any great ways that you are gathering data, or different kinds of data that you're using? Just let me throw out some ideas. As we know that GPA is really, really important for the college admissions process. Some type of data that you could do is look at your early college students and compare their SAT scores to their high school GPA. That can tell you a lot. It can also, you know, when you have the students getting a really high SAT and they're getting a 2.9 GPA, that gives you, as the teacher, as you develop those relationships with kids, a great point of discussion. Likewise, another data point that is insightful would be comparing their high school GPA, say at the middle of their senior year, to their college GPA of their dual credit classes that they've taken, and see what that comparison there is. I think what you may see typically is their college GPA may be a little bit higher than their high school GPA, because sometimes students in early college programs, maybe their freshman year didn't try really hard, and then all of a sudden it becomes real and they put forth that effort and get higher grades. So another type of data that I don't, sometimes we think, well, is that really data? But any kind of qualitative data that you can gather from your students in terms of focus groups, of what classes have been most beneficial, what classes have been the most difficult, what classes do your students wish they had more support in. And you can set that up in a way where, the ground rule would be, and we don't want to mention teacher names, but, trying to gather information about what the students need. And then sometimes actually some follow-up surveys with your grads in terms of how well did early college prepare you? What classes in early college were the most helpful? What classes in early college were not the most helpful? What do you wish, what kind of support do you wish you had from your teachers, from your counselor, etc.? So, that's something your leadership team really could look at. In some schools, school-wide, have a data team that actually is looking at more of the traditional data, the I-Learn scores, I-Step scores, standardized SAT, ACT, but you could also have a list of what data you really need for early college, because some of it is a bit different. So we are open to any comments about data, what you're doing, what's difficult for you in data. One of the questions that we get is, boy, it takes a lot of work to deal with all the data. Who is the one that maintains that data, that tracks that data? Is it your counselor? Is it your lead teacher? Do you have a friend in central office? How is that being done? Because if you don't identify a person and that's their job, as part of their job, then it's really easy for data to not get the attention it needs. So, yeah, here's a question to pose. What are the ways that people are getting first generation data? So as you know, we require you to gather information about who are your first generation kids. What can someone share what you're doing to gather that data? Okay.
Hi, Sandy.
Yes.
Hey, it's Regina in Elkhart. We just simply, we ask our parents as part of their application to the early college program, those questions, because a lot of times our students just don't know. So we just make those questions a part of our application to the program.
And it's the part of the application that the parents would do.
Right,
Yeah.
Regina, do you break it down into like some college, no college, degree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. We ask if they have a 2-year. Well, we ask if they have a 2-year degree or if they have more than a 2-year degree.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we have a question here. How do you define first generation? TRIO programs define it as parents not having completed a bachelor's degree. And I think ours is a little bit more broad, and that's parents that have not completed a degree. It could be a 2-year degree also. Any other thoughts or questions? I want to share what Wabash High School does. Granted, it is Wabash is on there. Kyle's on there, I think. But they're small, but either their principal or their assistant principal actually has one-to-one interviews with student and family. And that's when that discussion happens. So they feel like they get some really good information. Plus, what a great way to really establish a helping relationship attitude that you want to portray from your school. And Lawrenceburg High School, I believe, also does a similar interview process to work through that. And yes.
This is Chris Bottomley from Connorsville. I do interview every senior, not all early college kids, but one by one, and ask that very question about first generation questions on a one-on-one basis with every student.
Okay, and Chris, what's your position there at the school?
I'm a college connection coach, and I work for Ivy Tech, but I'm here as a neon for Ivy Tech as well.
Yeah, and that's great. You know, that might, for those of you who have those college connection coaches, you know, that could be another way to get some one-on-one interviewing time. We know that it takes time, and you know, if you have 400 or 500 students in your early college program, that's tough. But great. Any other suggestions?
Janet, this is Kyle at Wabash. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually, we're trying to get some of that data even earlier at the middle school level with some of the conferences that they do. That was a piece, the parent education was a piece that we hadn't really been tracking very well. And we thought that that might help us figure out some of our targeted students earlier on so that we can kind of address that sooner than later. So that is one of the directions we're moving in, is trying to collect that piece. A lot of times the students don't know it. And so, you know, typically some of the parents are more actively engaged at earlier levels. So we're thinking if we can gather that information, then it might be easier just to have it than trying to pick up at the high school level.
Very wise. A good suggestion. Thank you.
This is Bill Snyder at Lawrenceburg.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, want to thank you for the mentioning our name, and I want to piggyback on what was just said. That's worked great for us. We actually start at the elementary levels with the question on registration, and then we break it down with individual meetings if they need more of a definition on what first generation is all about. And yes, having one-on-one meetings starting with the freshmen, that's the only way they get a schedule at Lawrenceburg High School, is a family has to come in and have those meetings, and then that's when we get a lot of our data.
That is awesome. I'm sure you're tired when you're done with all that, but well worth the effort.
Hey, I only got 40 scheduling appointments over spring break, so it's worth it.
Oh, boy.
So what would you rather do than that over spring break, huh?
Well, my wife's going to Florida, so that answers that question.
Oh, goodness.
So you'll stay out of trouble, huh?
So Bill,
No.
Bill, you're not the only one that does those parent meetings. Who all on your staff does that?
Oh, correct. No, it's not just me. We have 4 people. Of course, remember, we're only a high school of 700. So we have it broken down where we actually have 4 people full-time helping with that, but it's really a team effort. My secretaries help a great deal in setting up the appointments and getting information. So it's a team thing. And really what comes out of it is our graduate, when it comes time for us to start school, we run about 90 to 95% success rate on having all conflicts taken care of. I remember going this year in guidance, the first day of school, maybe there's 25 to 30 kids that had questions.
That's pretty good.
That's really clean. So, and how long does it take you to get through all these appointments? I mean, how many weeks does it take you guys to do that?
We start right after Christmas break, and we do it in try to do it in grade level order. So right now we're getting ready to have our freshman meeting, and we'll start in on our freshmen. We've already put all the information out, been scheduling almost all of our juniors. Our next year's seniors, next year's juniors, next year's sophomores. So it's pretty much morning, noon, and night, but it's something that we feel works out really well and gets a lot of other things done for us.
I bet. So Bill, has this been helpful to you in terms of kids and parents understanding what early college is and what it can do for them?
That's the only reason we put in those extra hours, because it's the best thing we've ever ever seen. We've been doing it now probably for going on 10 years. And it's the community now expects it. You know, it's all the superintendents want to talk about when he goes out saying this is what's, you know, what helps us and what we do. And so, yeah, like I said, I know it seems like an immense amount of time, but all the benefits you get from it saves you time otherwise.
I bet. You just learn so much about the parents and the kids, and it helps you understand why the kids are the way they are sometimes too. Yeah.
Yeah, both ways.
Well, and you know, we all know with the first generation families, sometimes being in school and going to school was not their favorite thing to do for some of those parents. And so just setting up a positive, welcoming, caring atmosphere is really important. Hopefully they'll walk away with that and say, school's changed. This school really cares about my kid and wants to help them. So
yeah, it's one of the major things we get out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Good conversation. Thank you for those of you who are participating in that discussion. All righty. We are going to move on to our Cracker Barrel topics. And these are just topics that we think would be of interest to you. And feel free to pop in and ask questions as we go along. So I'm going to turn it over to Kylie Gerlach.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly talk about early college week this year. Those dates have been set, and it's technically April 26th through May 2nd, but those school days look like April 27th through May 1st. And in the past, SEL has provided our early college schools with some ideas, and we'll send those out after this conference call as well. But what I really want to talk about is something that SEL is trying to do a little bit different this year. Typically, early college week has been driven from JFF, Jobs for the Future. They're the group who sets the date and really promotes that. And SEL is wanting to take a more active role in early college week for Indiana. So what we are currently working on is creating a social media toolkit. This will have, all the hashtags, suggested tweets, suggested Facebook posts, some ideas for your schools to use, but we're really wanting to see early college week at an even higher level than it's been done in the past. So some of the things that you see on the screen now are things that we've shared in the past, and like I said, I'll send out this document again, but things you can do with the media, presentations, interview your early college leaders or your early college students, see if any local media will help pick something up around early college week. Community-based events, this is a great time to lead panels or discussions and presentations, workshops, tours, invite community members into your school and let them see and learn more about early college week. But really what I'm excited about, and I think what all of us here at SEL are excited about, is that toolkit that I'm saying we're gonna distribute to you probably 2-ish weeks before early college week. That'll really have some branding and some images and things that you can quickly use to help promote early college week. We'll also try and create suggestions for things that you could do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and really try and pick up momentum on Twitter, Facebook, all of those social media realms. But we really just want to step up the early college week and let everyone know what good work you guys are doing. So look for that to come out. I'll send some initial ideas in the follow-up from this Zoom meeting, but as we get closer to early college week, be looking for that toolkit that we'll send to you. And once again, those dates are April 27th through May 1st.
Okay, we hope you'll all join on board there and get the word out, and that it'll be a good time to get recognition for all the good work that you guys are doing. So next, we are going to hear about eWin.
Hi, this is Kate Kaufman again. I'm the director of the Education Workforce Innovation Network. eWin was designed to be a program that helped our schools and our communities create programs of study or pathways for students that lead to earning a credential, an associate's degree, or a technical certificate that is in an area of high demand, high employment, and high wage in your community. And we've worked with many of you on this, so you're familiar with it, but many of you we have not. So we're looking forward to partnering with you if that's something that your school district or your community is interested in adding. For some of you, it's challenging to get your students to your career and technical education centers because of distance or lack of transportation, while others of you have great CTE programs right in your backyard that your students are taking advantage of. So we can work with traditional high schools, we can work with CTE centers, but really what we try to do is customize it for your community so that it works for your students and your employers. We do it in a variety of ways. We have had a network of schools that received grants and are part of the Rural Early College Network. And as they get endorsed as an early college, they're moving on and partnering with SEL and EWIN to identify programs of study and pathways to add to their courses at their high schools. We are working with the Governor's Workforce Council to coordinate meetings for the Next Generation Programs of Study grant recipients. So several of you got a planning grant. Those were announced last week, and I know that they're contacting those who were not selected. So if you were selected, we will be seeing you at a meeting on the 16th or 17th of this month. But we also do a lot of work by contract. So if you are struggling to get your employer advisory groups engaged, or you're not sure how to transition to some of the Perkins 5 legislation and how that's impacting your students, SEL and EWIN can come in and work with you on a customizable basis to really address any needs that you're facing in your school or your community. And then as we identify other local and national grant opportunities, we'll be applying for those and connecting with some of you to see if you'd be interested in being partners in those, or even creating sub-grant opportunities where you might be able to apply and participate in those. Are there any questions about any of our work? Sorry, I lost the, oh, there we go. For more information, just like with STEM Teach, we have our own website within the SEL websites. You can go to iewin.org and learn more about what we've done. You can see past programs that we have worked with schools on and learn a little bit more of what those look like, and just a variety of information about our services. And we look forward to seeing some of you at the conference and learning more about EWIN that way. Any questions? Okay, I'm gonna turn this back over to my colleague, Pam Warner.
Good morning. One thing that we thought it might be a boost or a reference for many of us as we work in the world of alphabet soup and state and governmental agencies of different types, we put together a glossary of terms. And many of these you may recognize, and many of you will know them, of course, but what we have done is put together this first list and the second, the upcoming slide have to do with the early college CTE rubric. These were taken right off the forms that you may have seen or have been using, very common forms, but it's just a very good time to delineate all of the different acronyms that we use. You'll see some familiar ones, and we also have decided between and tried to describe the degree programs offered by Ivy Tech Community College throughout the state and also Vincennes University throughout the state. They offer many similar degree programs, but they have different titles, such as Vincennes University offers the Certificate of Completion, Certificate of Graduation, and then the Associate's Degree and Associates of Applied Science. Ivy Tech also offers an Associate's Degree, Associates of Applied Science, but they have certificate and technical certificates. And so these next two slides have to do with the list of acronyms and their brief definitions. Work-based learning, workforce ready grants are common to many of us. Problem-based learning, project-based learning, we're hearing more and more about. So the next slide describes in a little more detail the degrees and certification programs offered through Ivy Tech Community College. We've already mentioned CT, TC, all the way through AAS, and then TSAP, the Transfer Singular Articulation Pathways Degree Program, is one that is particular to Ivy Tech. Workforce certifications are embedded in many of their programs. And then on to Vincennes University. Again, you'll see a little more information provided about the Certificate of Program Completion ASCT, an Associate of Science Career Tech, which would be this and is equivalent of, if you will, an AAS. Then TOPS, the Technical Opportunity Service, and Workforce Ready grants are available through both institutions. So any questions about any of these or further discussion? Can you see any that, if you think of any that should have been added to this, let me know. We'll enhance and expand our glossary. Any questions? Thank you, that's all. That's all about the glossary of terms.
You know, if we have counselors on the line too, as you're working with students who perhaps are going to your career center, they might want to, you know, they may be dealing with a VU program or an Ivy Tech program. And we here at SEL would love for those two universities to get together and call their certificates the same thing, but we've not been able to make that happen yet. So it is a bit complex, but hopefully these slides here will be a good reference guide for you guys. So any questions, comments on the community college lingo? Okay, I just want to circle back around one more time before we go forward. Jessica Mann, are you online?
I am, I'm here.
Hi, we're so glad to have you here. Can you, we would like to hear a little bit about your summer bridge program, if you can share.
Sure. We have a summer bridge program that's for rising students going into each grade, and it's scaffolded to support them into the dual credit classes or honors classes that they'll be taking the upcoming year. And we do this in combination with our application process. So 8th graders who apply and are accepted but were not in honors classes in middle school are required to take the bridge, which is an honors English prep class. So it gets them ready for what they're going to be doing in the fall, but it also helps them build those connections to other students that have a goal of college, and it gets them used to the school building. So we find that it really works for them to build our cohesion. And then overall, the grade bump for students who do this program is really useful for us. So it's an intensive strategy for writing and grammar skills, the kind of stuff that we kind of take for granted that honors English kids already know, but that regular kids kind of feel outpaced by when they get into classrooms with former honors kids. Then the next summer, it's prep for the World History AP. So again, it's really writing intensive. And then our summer bridge 11 and 12 are sort of in flux and movable. One class is Math 136, and we offer that for struggling math students so that they can get the credit. And this year we're going to be lucky enough to offer Bio 101 in the summer, which the intention is also for struggling math students who can't meet the prereqs for our dual credit physics, and also just really don't enjoy Chemistry 101. Bio 101 is something that we think might be more attainable for a wider group of students. So that's sort of the overview of what we do. In addition to the subject area content, we take the kids on 2 college trips during each one of the sessions. So if they participate for all 4 years, they'll go to about 8 different colleges. And then we also bring in career speakers. My goal is twice a week to have career speakers come in for an hour. So if they participate for 3 years, usually what we see, they hear from roughly 20 different career speakers.
Okay, Jessica, awesome things you're doing. Share with us a little bit about funding.
So we fund it through summer school funding, the class itself. And then the field trip piece, our district is kind enough to pay for the transportation and the bus driver. And then the food part, so our summer school classes are only a half a day, so we don't have our cafeteria open in the summer, but our field trips are full day. So I really negotiate hard with our local higher ed partners so that they will provide food, like Notre Dame will provide food for field trips. We go to Ivy Tech and they have their culinary arts classes make the food. We usually piggyback at IU South Bend on some sort of orientation event so that they can feed us with the orientation food. Sometimes the colleges will just get Papa John's for us. And then I usually end up spending, I don't know, under $100 out of pocket to get sandwiches from Costco for some of our trips too. And then we do also, when we go to University of Chicago, we take them to the Oriental Institute, and I've been able to get a grant for, you know, $130 to pay the entrance fees so that the kids can go to that museum.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know that some of the big box stores, Target and Walmart, I think they have small grants too that people could use for, you know, field trips and those type of things. So so you're offering an intro to bio course this summer, is that right?
Yeah, the Bio 101 is only 3 credits, but it can be taught by anyone credentialed in the life sciences. You don't have to have the specific bio credential. So our chemistry teacher during the school year can teach it because it's a priority class, so he can teach it until 2022.
Okay. And then will that person be paid by Ivy Tech or be paid through your summer school program?
He'll be paid through our summer school. Because summer school is funded by the state, we actually pay really well for summer school, so it's something a lot of teachers want to do. He will not get the additional stipend for dual credit for the summer because he's already getting it during the school year.
Okay, great. Questions from the audience out there? I know sometimes people, when it comes to summertime, the question is, you know, how can I get my early college teachers to teach a class? But gosh, if it's through summer school, it's, you know, it's good money. So hopefully that'll plant a seed in your head, some of the others of ways that you can get some funding. And granted, I think the summer school reimbursement from the states usually has been running around 70%. So, you know, the district would also have to build into that. So
And another thing that we do for students, we feel that there's only benefit to participating in the program. So I get a lot of kids who say, you know, I'm going to a cheer camp and I'm going to be gone for 4 days, or I get this opportunity to go to this Notre Dame enrichment. Do I have to choose? And so what we do with students who don't complete the program is we just take it off their transcript. Otherwise, I think that we've been calling it ELA lab, something like that, for the DOE assignation. But if a student goes through the program and then doesn't finish the final project, we never give an F for it because the academic benefit is so worthwhile that we want as much participation as we can get.
That's a great way to build in that flexibility that you need, because we all know that kids are going 100 different ways in the summertime. So hopefully most of them will finish it, but if they don't, that's a good approach, I think. So, okay.
Questions for her?
Okay, moving on. We're going to share with you a new resource we just learned about called EduGuide.
Thanks, Sandy. This is Janet again. Earlier this fall, I went to the College for All conference in Texas and went to a session that featured some of the work that the early colleges there were doing in social emotional learning for their students. Like all of us, there has been a marked increase in the number of issues that schools are seeing that their children have in terms of social, emotional, and mental health issues. And so the school district, which is called the PSJA Far San Juan Alamo District, had purchased a product called EduGuide. And so I was kind of intrigued at the time, but didn't think much more about it. And then a couple of weeks ago, I received a email from the EduGuide president. And I know it was just a sales pitch that he was reaching out, but I started thinking, I think I know about this. But what intrigued me was that had just been, earlier this year, had won the Next Generation Challenge competition, which gave them several $1 million to help distribute their product. And EduGuide is based on research about the needs of about the needs of kids in terms of social emotional learning. And so I found that very intriguing about the research base. So I asked for a demo call. And so Sandy and I sat in and saw this demo call, and a former high school principal is the person who took us through it. And he said, basically, this was the tool he'd been looking for when he was working as a high school principal. And it's very seemingly simple. It takes 15 minutes a week. It's an app that kids open on their phone or their device. And it's basically a writing prompt about something that might have to do with grit, perseverance, having somebody to talk to, knowing how to advocate for yourself, all different topics. And they've got a curriculum developed from grades 5 through 12. And so, of course, this is targeted to kids and their interests, and it's very conscious of the differences between fifth graders and seniors in high school. So, and they try to make this interactive in terms of something to do, something to think about, whatever. So the kids respond to this prompt, and then teachers, there's no prep for teachers, but teachers, if they only have a class of 25 or 30, they simply have access to just see what did kids write. And they can respond to the kids if they want, or just give them a thumbs up, whatever they want to do. But they can also see, oh my gosh, I'm kind of worried about some of the words that child used, or I think I need to tell the counselor about this. The EduGuide folks also have an algorithm that looks for certain words like hurting myself, or don't know what to do, no hope, things like that. And if you, as a teacher or an administrator, don't see those words, they send you an email quickly and say, hey, we want to call attention to Joe in ninth grade. So you're alerted to possibly a child to watch. So another part of EduGuide is that it tries to create a system of peers mentoring peers. It's trying to create a community of kindness and caring for one another. So, you know, some of the prompts will have to do with, you know, what would you do if nobody would talk to you, but you feel so alone in the world? How could you help somebody in your class who feels that way? And so again, starting to make kids be aware of that. It goes a little bit further on the home mentor training, but I didn't have enough of that in the demo to tell you more about that. But what we were kind of fired up about was we've now had a second call with EduGuide, because we had lots of questions like, how much does this cost and how long is this for? And they said, well, what we want to do is give grants to schools. That's what our money from Next Generation Challenge is for, is grants to schools. And we're calling the first portion planning grants, but it's really getting yourself launched and not planning, and then implementation. And so the product normally costs $20 per student, but this grant takes it down to $5 per student. And we found out that if a school decides to do this, they can start with like just a class of 30 or the whole freshman class, whatever they want to do. And then if you like it and decide to keep going and either expand or just keep going with the same number of kids, you still get that $5 rate. If you stop and come back, it goes to $20. But we were rather intrigued by this, and so we have we're going to try to have some more ways for people to find out about this. We're going to present this to some of the schools we're meeting with tomorrow, but we just wanted to let you know about it, because they said, well, we'd like SEL to be kind of the umbrella for schools in the state that want to check into this. And I said, well, how many schools can you take? And they said, well, we have 50. We can give Indiana 50. We're trying to do this around the country. Texas has, of course, a bunch of them because they're big, but we've got at least 50 licenses, I guess you would call it, for this. So I just wanted to let you know about it, and if you're interested, I can send you. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a link on your screen right now that if you'd like to check into that, they will do. They can schedule a call with you, whatever. Just mention that you heard it from Janet at Cell. I think that helps you. And but if you've got counselors or teachers concerned about this in your school, if this is a initiative of your school, social emotional learning, I think it's worth a look. And I've looked at a lot of products, and I just I even got testimonials from Tim Volvasek, was who talked to us. I said, give me some principal names in Texas at PSJA, and I want to talk to them. And great testimonials from them. And they've got research on how it helps attendance and behavior and just the overall culture of the school. So take a look if you're interested. Questions for me?
Okay, moving on. Next slide is called Got Zoom, and doesn't have anything to do with the Zoom, the company that does Zoom calls, but through our affiliation with the National Rural Education Association, they have a connection with a company called Got Zoom. And what they do, I'm not going to go to their website, you can do that on your own with that link, but it's a free service, and they will analyze any adult's student debt, federal student loan debt situation, and they will look for ways to lessen the debt or reduce the payments. And they'll, on their website, they'll show you a chart of how they've through resources they have been able to reduce people's debt load. So this is definitely something to share with your teachers. It's not just for teachers. You could share it with your central office in case they would like to make other teachers aware, but definitely worth taking a look at. So moving on, DOE just announced this grant.
It's Title IV. Title IV, which a number of your central office people are very familiar with, but Title IV is branching out with another type of grant available, which is the innovation grant. And it can be used for several different things, but one of them is social emotional competencies. So, I mean, that would be, if you can't figure out a way to pay for it, if you like the EduGuide description, that would be a way to apply for that and get that covered. But if you take the Indiana DOE weekly newsletter, if you're subscribed to that, there was a link to it there, and also this link as well, but it will give you information and the due dates, etc. I think it's due in April 1st. I don't think it's hugely difficult. I don't know. I didn't go that far into looking at it, but it'd be worth a discussion at your district. I know we're always all looking for funding sources, so this would be worth looking at. Questions?
Okay, moving on. The next slide is just a brief reminder of the Horatio Alger Grant, and there are two of them. The one for the 4-year program is already closed, and that was closed in October, but this one is specifically for high school students enrolling in a CTE program, higher ed program. They must have done the FAFSA, they must be Pell Grant eligible. The deadline is April 15th. It's up to $2,500, so $625 per semester could help a CTE student with supplies, tools. If they get full aid through a Pell Grant, this is additional money. Last year, Indiana did not have very many people apply, so it's out there. People just need to apply. So,
and every state has money for this, right?
Right. So anyway, we hope you'll get that in. It's all online, and they may have to write a little bit of an essay, so hold their hands and get them to do that because it's worthwhile. Okay, and we're wrapping up now with our big conference that we're working on. Kylie, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So CEL is reviving their large conference that we used to do. It's been several years now, but we are bringing back our large conference. So this year it will take place in Indianapolis at the Marriott North, and registration is open now. The link is on here to register, and we're getting a few questions. We will be emailing out this entire presentation afterwards. So all of these links you'll be able to click right out of the PowerPoint to get to. But if you do go to the website, you'll learn more about the speakers that we have lined up, the sessions and themes. There's a hotel conference rate. So definitely take a look at that registration link that's included on this slide. We would love to have you join us. This conference is a partnership with our EWIN team. We're combining the summit that we've done previously into this conference, so there will definitely be an education workforce focus, as well as equity and inclusion, school improvement, and social and emotional learning are our 4 areas of focus. We are also partnering with our School of Education here at the University of Indianapolis. So we are really excited to get this launched, and we hope that you will join us on June 23rd and June 24th.
Yeah, it is. It's at the Indianapolis Marriott North, which is a smaller hotel. So space is limited, and we would love to see some of your schools apply early. Make sure you get in registered. So, wow, we've covered a lot in 2 hours. Any of you that are still with us out there, we're glad you are. What kind of final questions, burning issues that we could address here in our last few minutes together?
Yes, this is Bill Snyder at Lawrenceburg again. Can I ask you something about Prime Math course?
Yes.
What do you know about it? Do you know anything? It's a grant we wrote because it's a new math course from the DOE that we thought was interesting. So we're going to do it. Are you familiar with it at all?
Is it the quantitative reasoning course?
Well, it's actually a course that one can use in case a child is having a difficulty passing the AccuPlacer. They can take this Prime Math course to be eligible for, we do it then SIN, so we do it for Math 102.
Okay, it's something that we do not know very much about. I know that it's out there, it's on the DOE website. And are you applying to do it next year, or are you doing it now?
We've already applied, and we've received we were awarded the grant, so we are going to have the Prime Math course for next year. And we saw initially the 3 colleges in the state of Indiana was going to accept credit for it and accept this pathway. And we just wanted to know if anyone else out there, if you could put that word out there for us. We have some questions in dealing with it. We're with VU. VU's got some questions in dealing with it. And we were just hoping to get some possible input, discussion about it.
Okay. And that will replace the Math 102?
No, you have to get a certain score on the AccuPlacer to get into Math 102. Some students have a difficulty time doing this, so this course is comparable to what might take a 0 level course, like Math 016. Gotcha. Instead of doing that, because those all cost money. Prime is taught like a high school course, but you take this course instead of AccuPlacing.
Okay. That's a good thing.
There are several schools piloting that. Are you aware of which high schools are piloting? No,
we were not given that information that I know of. Maybe our grant writer was. We were just part of helping with that grant.
Yeah, here they are. Benton Central, Boonville, Forest Park, Greenfield Central, Huntington North, Linton Stockton, Penn High School, Pike High School, South Newton, and West Vigo. So we can make that list ready for you. What are the 3 universities that were accepting it?
If I know that Southern Indiana and Indiana State definitely, and I think the third one was Ivy Tech.
Indiana State and University of Southern
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what we know too. So, okay, Bill, great. We will delve into that and get some information out and connect you with somebody that you can ask questions of, okay?
Right.
I have a question. I'm
yeah.
sorry, Bill, I have a question. It's Tracy McMahon from Center Grove. Would your kids take that prime class during the school year, or would you offer that as a summer school course?
We're offering it. That's some of the questions we're getting. We're going to offer it during the school year.
What year would your kids be taking that? As juniors?
Yes, juniors and possibly, well, could be a senior depending on what they want to get out of it, because it is a good math class from the curriculum we've seen, but it would be juniors that we'd be thinking about to replacing it. The AccuPlacer wouldn't really help much of a senior replacing the AccuPlacer. So it's got a dual role. We think it's a real good math course. So our seniors might do it instead of the CCR bridge, but juniors probably what we're more dedicated to.
Okay, because we were looking at doing, we're with Vincent's too, and we were looking at the potential of doing the online math class, Math 116, I think, during the summer for kids who might not have met the AccuPlacer. So you're going to do this instead of that?
Yes, we've been doing the 016 for a while, and there was some issues we felt with it, especially anytime it's online, which is what we tried to do, where we could have a teacher that was approved through the grant, and the teacher can just be a good old high school teacher. It does not to teach prime. You do not have to have the 18 hours. So we thought that would be much better. We were having problems with the online 016.
Gotcha.
Plus the expense. The people were having to pay for that. Prime will be free.
Right, right.
Good to know, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We have one more comment here on our end.
Yeah, I think as we talked at the beginning of this Zoom, we're really interested in your feedback on how you enjoyed this session, maybe versus what we did at the earlier part of the school year when we met in person. So we will be sending out a survey as well as the presentations that were shared today, hopefully by the end of the day, if not today, tomorrow. But we would really strongly encourage you to provide your feedback on how you felt about this format, so we can make decisions in terms of network meetings for the Early College Collective moving forward.
Okay, any last questions, comments?
Just one more from Bill Snyder again. Were you going to send me those students, or I'm sorry, the schools that were on Prime pilot program?
Yes, we can do that.
Hey, great. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, well, we'll sign off here. Spring break is on the way. We're all glad. Hope you have a good spring break and a good rest of your week.
Thanks for being part of this.
Thank you.